Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Shotzzy's been on an absolute tirade over the last couple of weeks, and he explained last night exactly why he's been so passionate about his words against many other pro players and numerous other dramas that have occurred over the last couple of weeks in the CDL. Back in 2018, Shotzzy won the Halo World Championship, and shortly afterwards the scene basically died. He sees parallels with what's currently going on in the Call of Duty world, and is making it very clear that he's going to try his best to stop that from occurring again. Will it work? Will the other pros players get on board? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Loads to get into today. Firstly, Kremp. We know that he's racing in this new series this year. The first round of the series is at Daytona this weekend. I believe his qualifying session is today, and then I think the first race is like later today as well. So his first couple of practice sessions went very well. Just to kind of explain this, right? So there's multiple different classes on the track at the same time. He's in the GT4 class. He's in Evo 1, which is actually a lesser upgraded version of what basically everyone else in his class is driving, but he was still beating everyone anyway in his class. So he's a bronze rated driver. I believe that's because he got in at 30 plus. If you're under 30, they tend to give you silver rating, I think. If you're 30 or above, lots of the guys getting involved in that are like, you know, gentlemen with businesses that have the money to fund themselves driving kind of thing. Kremp isn't quite in that category, but he's a bronze-rated driver, and that can be a great thing for Kremp, actually, because it means that for lots of these competitions, the teams need to have at least some bronze-rated drivers on their squad, and Kremp is like the GOAT of that category right now. So we'll see if it obviously can translate this, but in terms of his performance in practice so far the weekend, he was absolutely cooking. I think in practice 2, yeah. So practice 2, he was P3 overall in the GT4 class, and P1 for drivers basically in his actual competition that he's racing in. So qualifying is today. He's actually live on Peacock and NBC Sports. Pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie, that yeah, Ian Porter will be taken to the track. Another quick thing to mention for you guys, I was going to talk about this last night, but the Envy thing happened, was Scump's skin in the game. But this isn't Call of Duty, if you guys hadn't noticed. You guys probably remember a while ago now, Nick Merckx, Tim the Tapman, they had their skins in the game. I think the first thing for me was, why would Scump not be like first? I think it was a frustration for many in the COD scene that Scump is like the king for a reason, all that he's done for Call of Duty and everything like that, and yet he was not the first. Maybe if the Nick Merckx and Tim the Tapman thing, the drama didn't happen with the whole Nick Merckx stuff, maybe Scump would have a skin in COD right now, but they kind of stopped it because they felt like it was a bit problematic, and it never arrived, of course, for Scump. But in this completely different game called Off the Grid, Scump has a skin in the game, and it genuinely looks pretty fire. Like, this actually looks like Scump. Could you imagine? And I don't know if this is ever going to happen in Call of Duty, unfortunately. I wish that it did. But could you imagine if, like, we actually had pro players as character models in the game? It seems almost like a no-brainer. And even other games are doing it way better than Call of Duty probably ever will. So it's all very confusing. It's pretty cool for Scump, I'm not going to lie. But, you know, I'd love to run around as, like, TJ Halley in COD. I think it would be great fun. We also had further updates as well on the Dallas situation, Dallas Empire Envy, the return. So we talked about this last night, a massive story in esports, Hastro reacquiring the rights to Envy. The exact behind the scenes details on this, I don't know when we will find out exactly what happened, because of course when Hastro saved OpTic on some level by allowing OpTic to kind of, you know, create the merger, it was a little bit unclear what the relationship at Envy looked like there, because of course Hastro still kind of owned Envy, but they had taken on mega investment in previous years. So, you know, whether Hastro was like a minority owner, and therefore whether kind of Hex and that ownership is now still kind of working together with OpTic, I imagine that's kind of what's happening, and that Hastro is kind of separating himself and taking the Envy branding with him and restarting that up, it seems, on his own. So pretty cool stuff. Clay says Empire is back. Now, will they get back into the COD League? We don't know. Obviously, we talked about it in some detail yesterday. I did just want to mention, because, you know, Swagcheck put this out there, with Dallas Empire back to the league. Now, of course, this is, you know, we don't know if this is actually happening yet. I'm sure that Hastro would want to get back involved in Call of Duty, and it would feed families to have OpTic versus Envy versus, you know, FaZe versus Thieves in the coming years, if we could potentially get that. Whether they get back in, of course, is a question, because I think, what was the rumor that Gentlemates pays? Like $1 million, something like that? Obviously, it was a $25 million entry. I think the latest rumor is that these CDL slots, it's not really a slot anymore, but it is only 12 opportunities to get into the league. Franchising doesn't really exist, but yeah, several $100,000 plus up to $1 million is probably what you're going to have to pay to buy one of these spots off another team, unless of course a team like Boston or Ravens or something, they just want out, and maybe you can get a better deal. I don't know. Also, expansion is maybe a possibility. I mean, this season we saw a couple of new organizations come in. There are other organizations that want to get involved. So I wouldn't say expansion is impossible going forwards either into the new season, but again, that's probably wishful thinking. We've talked about that from year one of the league, but we've just discussed, right, because Pred back to OpTic doesn't seem likely. I mean, Shotzzy emphatically shut it down the other day and said we're not getting Pred back. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but Pred has indicated that he is looking to return to the COD scene as a player, obviously, and there are certainly teams out there that could improve from his presence in the roster. So it's just been a talking point, hasn't it? Can you imagine the storylines if Empire come into the league? Whether they could even be Dallas Empire, because of course OpTic kind of own the rights to that geolocation in Texas. But, you know, I mean, at this point of the league, do they really care anymore about that type of stuff? We've had two teams in LA for years anyway. I'm not really sure it massively matters. So, yeah, it's just something I wanted to throw out there that was going around last night, that maybe if Hastro gets the funds, the resources, the assets to bring Empire, or, I mean, I guess he would bring it back as Empire. Maybe he wants to bring it back as Envy. I don't know. Maybe Envy's more of his baby, right? And that's fine. I don't really mind necessarily, but Empire was fire. I'm not going to lie. It was absolutely fire. I'd love, if you're getting back into COD, I feel like they could use that brand, but maybe it's not moving that way, the direction of COD at the moment, and it's moving more towards like OpTic Gaming, FaZe Clan, and other team names rather than the city-based stuff. But in Twitter, your thoughts as always in the comments. Now, last night, after some of the matches, the Vegas Falcons ladder was getting underway, and fair play to the likes of Huke, by the way, because, you know, he's grinding. He played 4 series, or 4 matches, and, you know, he won 4-0. So he gets top of the leaderboard. It's basically exactly the way that BPL worked. You start with 1,000 elo points, and depending on your victory, you go up and down in terms of score. So, you know, Doom was 2-0. He gets second. Kremp got to third. Neptune, Mack, Porlex, etc. These guys were all playing. It was pretty good to see this, especially on a CDL matchday night. I thought this was actually great stuff. Now, there was talk, understandably, about the situation with who actually gets invited, because Cruz says nothing to play, no invite to the VFL, no tournaments, please save me, I'll do anything. So Clay talked about this and said, okay, yeah, understandably, we've got to have a discussion in terms of which players we actually invite. It was a big drama, if you guys remember, in the BPL, where, you know, Parasite or Censor were, you know, we invited them as players because they were content creators and former pros, and yet some of the pros didn't really want to play with him. So it created a bit of an issue, really. So Clay says that they're trying to be careful with who they invite, because if they invite all the elite teams, then pros might not be so happy about it because they feel like they're playing with burgers, basically. I think some pros feel that way. So we decided to just do top 6 in Challenger seeding. Next time we do it, we'll grab the top 6 from there. I'm not sure if we're going to remove people that fall out or allow them to stay. We'll figure that out. So, yeah, I get it, what Falcons have done when they're putting this together, but obviously there are other players that want to play, but they're not necessarily allowed in as it stands. But as Clay says, you know, first night of the VFL, people were playing, had a couple of lobbies going consistently. That was on a CDL matchday night where many teams will probably take a bit of time off, you'd imagine, rather than on a regular weekday. But let's talk about what Shotzzy had to say on the state of COD in general, and even Scump was talking about this last night as well. Now, I think what he's referring to here really is more like, from a competitive COD perspective, the CDL is the only thing that's there. But even just from a wider spread, you know, point of view, if you look at something like Counter-Strike, if the competitive scene didn't exist, the game wouldn't really exist in the same way. Like, and obviously Counter-Strike is designed to be a competitive game. But I do think that there is an argument to say, if you go onto Twitch and you try and watch people playing Call of Duty, I guess Warzone kind of still exists and people still kind of play it, but it's probably not what it used to be as far as I'm aware anyway. And Zombies is still a thing, sure, and I'm sure there's still content on YouTube and people are playing ranked, for example, and they're putting, you know, gameplays up on YouTube and then beating hackers. And I'm sure these things still do all right. But I guess if you look at the overall viewership from Call of Duty as a whole, the CDL does have a significant percentage of that. Maybe it's just because I'm biased and we see it a certain way, but I do think that is genuinely true. That from a viewership perspective on Twitch, on YouTube and elsewhere, the CDL gameplay and competitive COD is a massive part of things. The problem is, again, still, that the majority of the player base don't even know that it exists. That's like genuinely true, and it's not even majority. I'm talking like probably 90% of people that play COD casually have no idea the CDL is even a thing. But it does still produce some pretty good numbers, and we have a great scene around it here. It's just Activision don't really seem to care, and I think that's kind of the frustrating thing for Scump and myself among others, is that yeah, the CDL is actually an entertaining product, and those that watch it, especially like those of you guys that have been to events, the feedback is always like, wow, that was a mega weekend, a fantastic experience, I want to come to another one. And the event kind of attendance, live event attendance, year on year is just going up and up because people want to come back and new people are turning up. Like, obviously the Texas event we had this year was like one of the biggest events ever we've had in COD history for the World Championship in terms of attendees. And that shouldn't be a surprise, but yet it's not, taken seriously enough, I think, by the people that actually make the decisions. But obviously, they have their reasons for it. This is what Scump had to say, and then this is what Shotzzy had to say on his feelings on the state of things, and why he feels like change is necessary, and he's got to step in and step up to the plate.
I mean, CDL is quite literally the only thing keeping COD alive right now, at least in my eyes. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but dude, if the CDL wasn't a thing, holy shit. Not even just the CDL, right? If competitive Call of Duty wasn't a thing, I don't think anybody would be playing or watching this game. I feel like the CDL, just competitive COD in general right now, is the only saving grace. Do you guys agree with that? If there wasn't comp, would you guys be playing or watching COD at all?
What do you think other players should be doing?
Just turn on the stream and just do whatever you truly think is fun for that stream. I mean, dude, you go to the Black Ops 6 category right now, it's literally the same thing as Halo. It's like 68 viewers, and I'm just like, dude, like, it's going down the same path as Halo. I swear, this is exactly what happened to Halo.
Is that why you're so passionate about it?
Because literally Halo is all I had. As a Halo Pro, that's all I had. And then when I see it die and I get told there's only one more event going into 2018, DreamHack Atlanta, I was like, damn, so like what is after this? And then obviously, like, because people's argument is Call of Duty is not even doing anything for the scene to like make people play and this and that. That is obviously the most like unfortunate circumstance, but do we just give up? Like, do we just let Call of Duty just die? And to me, it's like, as a competitor, as pro players, like, what content can we make obviously outside of ranked play and this and that? And obviously what people enjoy is the competitive nature of COD itself. So like, why don't we get S&E8s going and stuff like that? Because people, at the end of the day, people love that shit. Like, the people that truly love COD love that competitive stuff. And I swear, ever since I said that, believe it or not, like, there's been 8s every single day. And, like, it's cool to see that. Because, like, after me ranting and all this stuff, like, there's actually people playing now, and like, I'm like, damn, that's all it took? Like,
so I think we speculated on this for a little bit of time now, right? That Shotzzy, having seen what occurred in Halo, and even what is still occurring in Halo to the present day. I mean, Halo, it's, same thing happens every couple of years. They bring a new game out, the scene is kind of thriving for a year, then every single year after that, it starts to fall off a little bit more, and then, of course, it basically just dies until they release a new game, and then they go again for a couple of years. And he doesn't want the same thing to happen in Call of Duty, and I understand why he feels that there are parallels there. And, the COD scene is so mega that I think, Shotzzy's absolutely bang on that the pros have to try their best. Now, of course, in Shotzzy saying all these things that he said over the last couple of weeks, he's stirred up lots of controversy, and, some might argue he's gone too far, whatever you think of the house thing or whatever, criticizing the players for not having a house. But the bottom line is that it has created some entertainment and some controversy, and the other teams and players, I'm sure, to some extent reaping the benefits of exactly that. So, again, just wanted to quickly mention the Credit Union of Texas Event Center, which is where they held the World Championship. That is going to be the venue for OpTic's Major 2 that they're running again this year. It's March 20th to the 23rd. Next weekend is when the tickets are available, so just stay tuned for that one if you guys are looking to go. And as I say, it was a pretty damn good event last year. Just one thing before we discuss the matches for this evening. Crossplay is coming back, apparently. We talked about this, that especially from a cheating perspective, lots of frustration, understandably, that console players can't turn off playing with PC boys. because there's loads of cheaters on PC. And it was kind of ruining ranked. Last year, Havoc, when he was playing cheaters all the time, would say, okay, let me go play on PS4, PS5, whatever, and there'll be no cheaters around. And that was generally true. But for some reason, they, basically prevented crossplay being disabled at all. Now they're bringing it back. These are the games for tonight. I will say, it's not the most stunning day of games on paper. I think we will get some interesting results, but it's not like you look at this and say, wow, banger games. However, Sunday is actually better for that. But we've got Surge Falcons. This is interesting because Falcons played pretty well against OpTic, and they played FaZe recently as well. So the most recent series Falcons have played twice against OpTic, once against FaZe. And, against OpTic, they looked okay. So I want to see how will Falcons fare against Surge, because genuinely Surge are a team that they could beat. If Falcons get crushed by Surge, I think my hope will have almost vanished. But this is a series where I expect Falcons, if they are going to do something in the league this year, I want them to take Surge to a Game 5 at least. I think they can do it. I don't rate this Surge team especially well, but I think there's questions in terms of the slaying on that Seattle, Vancouver roster, so maybe Falcons can be okay. Cloud9 Heretics is actually very, very interesting after yesterday, because if Heretics beat Cloud9, it might be time to blow it up, because they lost yesterday, got 3-0'd by Gentlemates. I think Cloud9, I'll take them in 5 here. I think that yesterday was a bit of an underperformance from them, and Heretics' Search and Destroy has been woeful. So I'll take Cloud9 in 5, but that's very interesting. And then Boston Ravens, actually, okay, it's not expected. If you'd have told me this was the final game of the day going into the season, I'd have said, I might be going to sleep early. But actually, this is very interesting, because Boston have looked very good, as have Ravens. Ravens are top of the league, let's not forget, with 60 points on the board, and Boston have looked very competitive as well as of late. So, interesting series. Ravens are going to be the favourites, but I think it's pretty marginal. I'll take Ravens in 5, and I'll be back this evening to talk about exactly what happened. But very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.